Welcome to the My Breakthrough Zone podcast show with your favorite host, Coach Sybil Kears. We go live every Monday on the Boss Lady 101 Facebook page and our YouTube channel. Make sure you come through to get your breakthrough. Hey, everybody, welcome to the My Breakthrough Zone podcast show with your favorite host, Coach Sybil Kears. I am grateful to be able to spend this time with you. So, we have been talking the last couple of weeks about overcoming obstacles. Okay, and I think we can kind of agree that everyone faces obstacles. We talked about that and how we can kind of look at obstacles as an opportunity to be successful. Then we talked about in our second week, we talked about basically what our perception is about obstacles, right? So this week, we're going to kind of talk about recognizing the fact that sometimes we are just not as in control of obstacles as we think. And sometimes when we are trying to be in control, we actually create an obstacle. All right. So let's get into it. So, like I said, we talked about how our mindset should be about obstacles, that we should look at it as an instance to give up, but more so of an opportunity of how to overcome it. And then we got to definitely make sure that we perceive the right things about the obstacles. But how do you view yourself as being in control is basically why some people have obstacles. So sometimes there is an illusion that we are in more of a control than we really are. And that creates a challenge for many people. And we find ourselves being in a situation that the obstacle was actually created by our own desire to be in control of something. So, first and foremost, we have to recognize that we are not as in control as we think. As humans, yes, we have a tendency to want to be in control of our lives. But the actuality and the reality of the situation is that despite the strong urge to be in control, we have to accept the fact that we're technically and actually only control of very little. Okay. So by trying to control some things that are entirely out of our realm of control is in itself an obstacle. Okay. And it makes things seem overwhelming and daunting. And it makes us not even want to keep going because here we are fighting our own self in a sense. Okay. So if you being in control of something is the obstacle, then this is definitely going to be a podcast series show for you. You definitely want to pay attention, okay? Because so many people create countless obstacles solely by trying to be in control of things that are out of their control. That is not an obstacle that you want to strive to overcome. That is an obstacle that you want to strive to let go of, okay? That's your way of overcoming it, letting it go. So the question is, how do you know when to let go? Well, because of the control issue, many of us are holding on to these made up obstacles that we have no business holding on to. Okay. These are the obstacles that we have no chance of overcoming because we don't have any control over the situation. So, whenever we try to overcome obstacles that we can't beat, that's when we get overwhelmed. We start playing the blame game. We start doing all this negative stuff. So, most likely, our inability to overcome an obstacle has nothing to do with us, but more about the facts of the matter. So, with that in mind, it's important to remember that you should not get caught up on things that is not in your control. Okay. Stop focusing on what you can't control. Stop worrying about what other people are doing. Stop putting all this energy and time and effort into the very things that you cannot control. Okay. Focusing on things outside of your control is a blatant waste of your time and energy. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Okay. Then it's going to turn around and start hurting your self-esteem, start making you second guess yourself, start having all this negative things going on. And that's not something you need. If you are seeking to be successful, negativity is definitely not part of that recipe. Okay. So only focus on the matters that you have the least amount of control in and giving it just that much of energy. Okay. The reason why I say that is because whenever you find yourself facing an obstacle that you aren't sure if you're in control of, you need to start evaluating it. You need to start really looking at, am I supposed to be fighting this battle? If you cannot control the obstacle's outcome in any way, then that's how you know it's time for you to let it go. Knowing whether or not you should let go can be difficult. I understand. I find myself there more often than not. But let me tell you, what are the two things that you need to start weighing to determine, is it time for me to take my hands off of this? Number one, you want to consider the facts. And number two, consider your emotions about it. So what do I mean? I'm glad you asked. The facts of the obstacle and your emotions will determine whether or not you're in control of the outcome and whether or not you should let go of it. So the facts of the obstacle include anything that is a requirement for the obstacle to be overcome. For example, let's say the obstacle is that you lost your job and that you need money. That's your obstacle. Your source of income is no longer in effect and you still need to have income. So the facts would include, how long can you go without an income? How many people are dependent on your income? And anything else that can be objectively determined based off their fact. Now, if we understand this to be the case, there is no way around the fact that you need income to survive. But is it in your control right now, without a particular source of income, to get it? Okay, so now here's the thing. You have to determine, is that something you need to continue to pursue, or is it something you should let your hands go of? Now, I know you may say, well, coach, I mean, who can survive without money? That's not the point of question. What I'm getting you to show, what I'm showing you in this example, what I want you to get out of it is how to determine what is the facts of the scenario. That's a fact. You need income. That's a fact. You need to have a source of income to have the income. That's a fact. That your source of income is necessary to keep your family stable. That's a fact. So now, whatever the obstacle that you are facing, learn how to identify the facts of the situation. You didn't talk about your emotions. You didn't talk about being upset about losing your job. You didn't talk about anything of an emotional state. The only thing we concentrated on in that scenario was learning how to pull the facts of the obstacle, okay, to legitimize whether or not this obstacle is something within your control or not. The facts will help you determine that. The fact of the matter is, you definitely need income in order to survive. You need income to support your family. That is a no-brainer. And you have to have a source to give you that income. Facts, okay? So moving on, let's talk about the fact of, let's talk about emotions, okay? So once you identify the facts surrounding this obstacle, now we got to consider our emotions. And here's where some people kind of get overwhelmed. Your emotions will largely determine if the obstacle is worth it to you. Sometimes the obstacle is in your control and the facts allow you to overcome it. Nevertheless, your emotions, on the other hand, may tell you that the obstacle is not worth it. So let's look at another example. Assume that you are in a relationship and now your partner gets a new job way across country, some other state, some other country, whatever. Okay. And they have to move away in order to have the job. Now you're faced with an obstacle. The obstacle in hand is, do you move with your partner or do you endure a long distance relationship? What do you feel about that? Now, some people can have the long distance relationship. It may work for some, but not everybody can. Where is your emotional state about that? Okay. So now you have the facts of the situation. The facts of the obstacle is that the job has to be received, and in order to get it, the partner has to move. But your emotions about that, is it worth putting yourself through a long distance relationship? Is it worth you uprooting everything you have going on to go follow behind this person? Is it worth it? What does your emotions tell you? Just take a moment and try to savor that for a minute and place yourself in those shoes. Now you understand how to differentiate the facts, and now you understand how to consider your emotions. Because here's the thing, the facts will tell you that you have the obstacle indeed. You are here with someone you have a relationship with, and now there's something that came that has to separate you two. The emotional state of it is determining, are you going to keep the relationship, closing the gap by moving? Or are you going to keep the relationship and suffer because you are not the type to endure a long distance relationship and have all that heartache? Or are you going to let it go? Can't make the decision for you, but here you now have a way to determine, Is this obstacle worth me trying to control? Is it worth me trying to force? Is it worth me continuing to try to make it happen? Or is it worth me letting it go? Okay. So both of these options are doable, going long distance relationship. But if your emotions tell you that you don't want to move and you can't tolerate a long distance relationship, then the obstacle is not worth it. That means you are potentially about to face a breakup. Okay. So by looking at the facts and your emotions, you should be able to determine if the obstacle is worth it. If the obstacle is not, then that means let it go, give it up, move on with your life. Okay, this may take a lot of strength, resilience, and the whole nine, but it will, in the long run, make your life easier. Holding on to something you can't control does not simplify life. In fact, it complicates it. Okay, so you have to know how to let go of the control in order for you to move on. In order to do that, you have to recognize when to let go, how to let go, and the point blank period. The only way to do that is to take an assessment of yourself. What are the facts? What are the emotions? How do you feel about it? And what are you willing to do to make it work for you? For most people, it's not an easy feat. Here are some action steps that can help you if you find yourself knowing that you should let something go, but having a difficult time doing so. Okay? Because listen, letting go of control of something you don't have control over, you will find yourself getting back to living a life that you can enjoy. So, step number one, focus on what you can control. The first step to letting go of control is to focus on what you can control and then recognize and acknowledge what you can't. What you can control only relates to you, and the list is very small, whether you realize it or not. Things like your appearance, your mindfulness, your aspects of your health, your attitude, your productivity. These are examples of things that are within your control. Okay. So any situation that involves another person is not entirely in your control. You can control how you respond to other people, but you cannot control how they act in a situation. And I think sometimes people get hung up there, and I'm gonna just put a pin in it. A lot of people are in unhappy situations because they've found themselves in a situation or in a relationship that they are not satisfied with. And instead of letting it go, they're holding on, trying to manipulate it and mold it to become what it is they want. You know, the thing of the matter is, when you are dealing with people, when you establish a relationship, whether it's romantic, platonic, professional, spiritual, whatever it is, listen, accept people for who they are. Let go of the desire to control them to be who you want them to be. You will find that these obstacles will no longer be prevalent in your life. You will be able to have peace. Sometimes your mental health and your peace is way more important than trying to control somebody. Okay. And maturity allows us to say, that's not my fight. I'm going to let it go. All right. Control the things that are of you that you know you can. Let go of the things that are not of you that you can't control. It's almost that simple. Okay. Next thing you want to do is take notice of your reaction pattern. Okay. Your reaction pattern is how you react to another person or situation. Most of the time, our emotions lead to our reactions. Now, I'm going to put a pin in it right there. Part of some of the things I coach women on is emotional intelligence. Listen, most people react. Something is a stimulates them and they react. It almost seems natural to do. But here's the thing. When you understand what emotional intelligence is and you increase your emotional intelligence, you learn how not to react, but better yet, respond. Because something happens when something erupts and you have something that stimulates your emotions, it stimulates your senses, and now you feel a desire to react, but you pause and you let it process. And it goes from your head into all the responding nerves, and it has the opportunity to no longer be such a swift blow. And now it kind of resolves. And then When you offer your response, it is of a better, more rational, and possibly more positive one, which renders yields a better outcome. Okay, so I'm gonna get back to the topic at hand. We're talking about a reaction pattern. So I want you to understand why they correlate that to your emotions, because it's your emotions that make people react instead of respond when they don't understand the processes that's taking place when something happens. Okay, so notice your reaction pattern to the change the outcome. Notice how you react to things when it happens. The reaction pattern will include the trigger, your stress reaction, negative thoughts, negative feelings, reactive behaviors, and the consequences. So take a second to reflect on this reaction pattern so that you know how you react to something, okay? If you think that your reaction is poor or leads to bad consequences, then you need to try to break that pattern and take a moment and respond instead of react, okay? This involves noticing the trigger, breathing, and being compassionate to yourself and others during the process. Additionally, you can turn your negative thoughts into more realistic, positive ones, okay? So changing your reaction pattern will give you much more control over yourself versus you trying to control other people and situations that you can't. It won't completely change the scenario, but it will help you understand how you react to it and your feelings so that you can process them. And life is basically all about processes. It's all about how you take things in and how you respond to them, what your perceptions are. All of these have contribute to the ultimate end result of anything you face, okay? But in the event you find yourself still not able to respond because your emotions cause you to react and you have all these negative things going on as a result of your reaction pattern, then try some affirmations. Okay, affirmations are one of my favorite things to do because it helps. Okay, so if you are literally like a control freak, if you literally find yourself unable to let go of things that are out of your control, then try these quick affirmations. It may help change the way you think. You may have to repeat them several times until let it sink in so that your mind will start believing what you're saying. I let go of the need to control others. I let go of anything outside of my control. I control myself and my happiness. I only control myself and my reaction. Write those down, say them. Learn to let go of those obstacles that you can't control. It's taking your time, it's taking your energy, and you're not getting any results from it. Okay? So, just to recap, our need for control turns things that we should let go into obstacles. Learn how to identify when obstacles are not worth your time. Then work to let go of your need to control everything to get back to your life and only face those obstacles. Reserve your energy for those obstacles that are worth your time, that are worth your perseverance, that are worth your pressing through, that is worth you getting to your breakthrough. Come on, somebody. I know you understand what I'm talking about. The whole point in case that I want you to know during this overcoming obstacles series is just remember that everything is a process. Everything has steps. Everything is all about how we get things done. If something we're holding on to is preventing us from getting it done, then sometimes the resolve is to let it go. Just let that sink in and just look at it, whatever you're facing, whatever you've been tussling with, whatever you've been wrestling with, and taking that opportunity to entertain the notion that maybe I just need to let this thing go. Maybe it's not for me to try to control. Maybe I have some other things that are in my control that I should be focusing on. Just food for thought. But nonetheless, I thank you for your time. I thank you, and I hope that you took notes. And I hope that this resonated something in you in facing whatever you're facing right now. Okay, or something you can use in the future. But next Monday, we will come back and we will talk about identifying obstacles. That will be the next series. Let's talk about how we can identify the obstacles that are actually worth our time, right? So come back, tune in. We'll be live on the Boss Lady 101 Pro page, Facebook page. Swing by there real quick. Give us a like. Check us out on YouTube. Give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel so we can keep you updated with all future episodes of the My Breakthrough Zone podcast show. Again, I'm your favorite host, Coach Sybil Kears, and I enjoyed this time with you. Come back and see us again next Monday, okay? Much love and success. God bless.